Hey guys, you're with MrChia, and please get your tuxedos ready because I'm with the kind of car that motoring journalists like me like to give Car of the Year awards to. And why? Well, because it takes an utterly boring idea like a 7-seater family SUV and wraps it up in some really interesting skin. I mean, somehow this car reminds me of Optimus Prime wearing an Italian suit made out of bronze. And the other reason we like to give out awards is, well, kind of makes us feel important. So please consider subscribing because, you know, important. So what we have here is the Hyundai Santa Fe Hybrid, and this car gives you everything. Maybe it'll even give me a bit of sunshine. So you've got 3 rows, 7 seats, dual screens, wireless charging, and a 1.6-litre turbo hybrid setup with 215 horsepower. Now you get all that for $259,999. You can spend a bit less and buy something like a Skoda Kodiaq, which is similar in size, or you can spend a whole lot more and buy a German car but with only 5 seats. So this is definitely a value for money play, and so far, so Hyundai. This version is the top spec calligraphy. For $20,000 more, you get these mean looking black wheels, a mean looking front grille in dark chrome, and some mean looking roof rails. Oh, and by the way, these mean looking things here are actually handholds. So if you want to get up here and look manly, or I don't know, maybe if you just want to do a Tom Cruise and turn this into an 8-seater. That's the wrong door! This is never gonna work, guys. Now inside the calligraphy, you get a rather pleasant looking 2-tone steering wheel, a pleasant looking dual sunroof, pleasant looking soft Nappa leather on the seats, and a dual wireless charging pad, which is neither mean nor pleasant looking, but it might save you from some marital strife. So that is seriously a lot of kit, and if you ask me, the only way to get more value for money out of this car is to pull out 2 of the spark plugs and chop the engine power in half and then try to buy it with a category A COE. But you definitely don't want to do that, guys, because this is a pleasantly lively car. The 0 to 100 is given as 9.6 seconds, but it actually feels a bit quicker than that. There's a little bit of delay, but once you feel the motor kick in, then you get quite a good slug of acceleration. And I mentioned you get 215 horsepower. There is 367 Newton meters of torque, and that's sent to the front wheels through a 6-speed auto. So it's a normal automatic. So, you know, if you don't like the CVT feel that some hybrids give you, then this would feel more at home. But I do want to say that it only sends power to the front wheels, so definitely don't go off-roading in this. So let me talk a bit about the hybrid system. The 1.6 turbo makes 180 horsepower by itself, and the electric motor makes just a little bit more than 64 horsepower. And you know, the tricky thing with hybrids is that you have to blend electricity with petrol power, and this car does it very, very smoothly. And the opposite is true as well. You have to blend the brakes with regen as well as friction braking, and in this car it's also very seamless. You might not even know it was a hybrid. And these flappy pedals, normally they work the transmission, and when you're in sport mode, it does do that. It influences the gearbox. But when you're in normal mode, it actually influences the regen. So pull left for a bit more regen, pull right for less regenerative braking. Oh, and because this is a hybrid, guys, sometimes when you're stopped or even when you're cruising along, the combustion engine just cuts out completely and you're just rolling along on electricity. Like now, I'm at a standstill, but I don't lose my cool air when that happens, and that's because, like every real hybrid, the aircon compressor actually runs off electricity instead of being belt driven by the engine. So with all this talk about hybrid technology, I bet you want to know the fuel consumption. So on paper, this is good for 6.9 liters per 100 kilometers. I've actually achieved that on some of the drives I've had with this car, and with a fuel tank of 67 liters, in theory, it means that you should be able to get close to 1,000 kilometers from a full tank. So that's like a easy score to keep, right? The closer you get to 1,000, the more of an angel you are. Like if you're doing 600, it means you're a bit of a naughty boy. But I think that for most people, what that means is you could probably refuel this car in Singapore once every 3 weeks or so. Better do it once every 2 weeks though. I'm sure you know this, but fuel pumps actually sit inside the fuel. So if you run your tank too dry, it can actually cause the pump to get hot, and that increases the wear. One thing I should say is that I find the Santa Fe a nice size for Singapore. I mean, it is big on the inside, and yes, it is big on the outside, but it isn't intimidatingly enormous like, say, a Land Rover Defender. It's still less than 5 meters long, and it's a manageable 1.9 meters wide, so it's not a nightmare to park or to parallel park. And on the road, it actually doesn't feel huge either. I mean, it's not majestic like a Land Rover, but at the same time, you do sit fairly high up, and you don't always feel like you're driving a car that could be like Godzilla on the road and then cause a lot of death and destruction. And as for the ride, it actually feels like it glides over bumps pretty well. You do have that feeling that the car is kind of stable and the wheels bounce around underneath it. And I would say it is quiet. The engine especially is quiet when you're driving gently, but I kind of feel like I can hear the suspension links sort of clunking away in the background sometimes. So there is that last little bit of refinement missing. How nice it is to have cream upholstery and set off against sort of a coffee colored leather over here. Whether it's easy to maintain, I don't really know, but it is easy on the eye. I do like the layout of the cabin as well. So you've noticed, of course, you've got this long curved screen, and this one is slightly angled towards the driver. But when I was using it, I did find that I actually had to stretch a little bit to reach the furthest corners here. But never mind, because you can actually bring your favorite functions closer to you. Let me show you what I mean. So let's say I want Apple CarPlay to be closer, I just drag it over there, like so. Easy peasy. So moving down a little bit, look at these. I mean, these are physical buttons, and I can't believe I had to say this, but I actually really miss these because many new cars don't have them anymore. All of this goes into the touchscreen, so you can imagine how much stabbing you have to do in a modern car. But look, you've got quick access to all your favorite features here. So the map function, for example, is powered by your phone, and I can of course select the media that I want immediately and stuff like that. Volume knob, remember those? And irony of ironies, I can even program this button to shut off the screen. And this is the same thing. I mean, it's a panel of not haptic but touch sensitive switches, and it's actually quite easy to use. If I want to change my temperature, I just do this, and if I want to change the fan speed, I just do that. I don't have to touch here and tap back and forth. Oh, and something I want to show you that no car should be without is ventilated front seats, but that is only a calligraphy thing. Of course, storage is important when it comes to modern cars as well. So you've got two large cup holders over here. They are big, but they do have those little fingers so your bottles don't actually move around too much. And okay, I mentioned the wireless charging trays before, but there is another tray over here so you can sort of hide a mobile phone if you don't want anyone to see it. And underneath here is quite a big space. There's enough room for a regulation camera, but using it is a different matter. This is my proper driving position. Getting it out of here is going to take some doing. If you want to actually make it happen, yeah, so there you go. There is space, but using it is something else. Oh, but that brings me to 3 rather cool things about this car that I really want to show you. Oh, since you're over there now, guys, I want to show you something I forgot to show you earlier, and it's this Land Rover-esque steering wheel. Very rugged, very chunky looking, but what I find fascinating is this ... here. Apparently that's Morse code for the letter H. But that's not what I wanted to show you. Something cool this car has is a 360-degree monitor. Okay, lots of cars have them now, but look at how crisp and high-res this one is. I mean, it's like you're being in a video game. And you know, a car like this really needs it because it's large, and in a car park like this, it's really going to save you a lot of headache and a lot of heartache. So yes, I like this, but there's more. Just get rid of that now. Now for this center console bit, let me just move this seat here, which I can do with these handy dandy buttons over here. I'm sure you're all used to accessing storage like this, which you can do of course, but in this car, you can actually access it from the rear. So all your kids can get ready access to whatever it is you put here. I don't know, some candy or something. So there's a tray for that. But if you remove the tray, of course, you have access to the drawer that's down below, and that kind of slides out like so. But there is more, because when you slide out the drawer, it actually has another compartment that would otherwise be hidden. So you can tell all your kids, like, you can only drink fresh water, but you yourself can conceal a sugary beverage. This video is not brought to you by Milo. Okay, and finally, something I've never seen before in any other car, guys, is a UV sanitizer. What do I mean by that? Well, there's this compartment over here, and when you press this button, it actually showers it with UV light to kill dirty stuff. So let me demonstrate. I have here a list of filthy, dirty jokes. And this is really RA21 stuff, guys. Okay, if you don't have children in the room, why isn't there a pregnant Barbie doll? Because Ken came in another box. So let me just put this in here, set this on, and let's wait about 5 minutes.
A few moments later.
Okay, this should be good to go in. Let's see if it came out any cleaner. Ah, okay. My wife told me to stop impersonating a flamingo. I had to put my foot down. So lame. Now let's find out how 15-year-old me would have entertained himself in this car. First impressions are there is a lot of space back here, and it feels even more airy because of this glass roof over here. And I'm just going to put my fingerprints all over it to annoy the next journalist to take this car. Now over here, okay, pull-up blinds, very handy for privacy. I have noticed that you have a couple of cup holders over here, but you know, they don't have those pop-up fingers. So look, I don't think it's a good idea, especially with nice cream upholstery like this. Can you imagine kids, sugary drinks, and a loose cup holder? Poof, bad combination. But you are well accommodated in other ways, like you have these handy dandy hooks, for example. And this video is not brought to you by Canon. Oh, a couple of USB-C ports built into the back seats over here. Now I showed you earlier that you have this storage tray over here, and one of the reasons this car has so much room for things like that is because there's no aircon vents back here, so there's no plumbing for it. But never fear, because there are aircon vents built into the B-pillars, so you are sorted for that. Now, in addition to space, this car has some versatility because I could recline my seat back for a long journey, or if I want, I could slide it forward. But why would I want to give myself less leg room? I will give you 2 guesses. Okay, so let's see what I have back here, and straight away I'm sure you notice my knees are actually pretty high up, and I do have quite a bit of knee room, but there just isn't a lot of space down here. So if you've got a full bladder like me right now, then this is not good. But hey, if you're comfortable doing the Asian squat, then you should be okay. Myself, I think I could see myself settling in for a decently long drive back here, and that's because I've got a USB-C charging port as well as my very own aircon vent back here. There's one on each side with an individual control. I should say this is just a fan speed thing. For the temperature control, you're still at the mercy of mom and dad up there. But okay, I can pop up my headrest, an important safety feature, and I do have a proper 3-point seat belt. So I'm all set back here. And if I want, I can actually just recline the seat a little bit. But you know what? I don't think I'm gonna need to, because if there is one dimension this car is not short of, even in the 3rd row, it's headroom. And there's a reason for that. Seriously, don't you think this looks like an SUV had a baby with a fridge? And I don't know, it looks like you don't know whether you want to take your luggage into the jungle or you just want to keep it cold for a while. But the point I want to make is that this thing is big. I mean, I thought bats would fly out of here. And look, even with 7 seats in use, you've still got space for quite a big bag. So let's say mom wants to go on a 3-week trip to visit her good friend Betty Ford, and then the whole family wants to come along for the ride to see her off at the airport. Well, that's totally doable. But what if you don't need 7 seats all the time? Well, folding these 2 puppies is a piece of cake. Just pull this strap, push. You could probably do this with one hand. And that leaves you with 628 liters of space. If you need even more than that, well, there are a couple of buttons here. Converts that to a flatbed, you get 1,949 liters. But beyond the liters, just look at how big this flat surface is here. I mean, honestly, if I had a daughter, I would never let her go out with a guy who drove a Santa Fe. Come to think of it, if I had a son, I wouldn't let him borrow my Santa Fe either, because this car would fail what I call the father test. Or maybe I should call it the I don't want to be a grandfather test. Oh, but I do have one criticism though. Notice there's no luggage cover. Well, normally you can fit one underneath here and then deploy it when you need it, but this time there's no space because of the hybrid battery. So luggage cover neatly hidden or better fuel consumption? Pick your pleasure. So at the end of the day, this is a seriously versatile car. It'll carry a lot of stuff and the 7 seats are actually quite usable. It's not horrible to drive and it doesn't feel clumsy on the road, and the hybrid drivetrain is actually quite frugal. I do wish it were a little bit quieter on the move, but basically this car comes with everything and it'll do everything. And get this, the Santa Fe comes with a 10-year warranty on the engine, the gearbox and the hybrid battery, as well as 10 years free servicing. Does that all add up to a perfect 10? Well, I don't know, but it sure gets 2 thumbs up from me. Hey, that's my quick and dirty look at the new Hyundai Santa Fe Hybrid. If you want to know more, you can get in touch with one of our friendly salesmen from Komoko, or you can text me at the number below. Send me a WhatsApp and I will do my best to help you out. For now, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. See you again.